Ladies and gentlemen, you already know who it is. This is Kenny Coins with Marathon Money inside the ticker. I'm with the CEO of bioAffinity Technologies. For you guys who don't know, the ticker symbol is BIAF. It's great to have her on. Um, um, there's so many people in the group chat that they know somebody that has cancer. They know somebody who's been afflicted by the disease one way or another. And I really like this type of product because it's a product that can detect a even the smallest form before it grows any bigger. And I'm pretty sure the CEO Maria Zannes can probably explain it way better than me. I'm here to learn. I'm here to understand, and we're trying to figure out, as a collective, is this the next thing that we invest in for the institutional investors out there, for the retail investors out there? So I'm gonna let Maria take it over from here.
Oh, Kenny, first of all, thanks so much for having me on. And you're unfortunately absolutely right that cancer strikes so many families. I know it has struck my family multiple times. In fact, we're going to talk today about lung cancer and the importance of early detection of lung cancer and what that means for survival, in fact, for curing lung cancer, and how our test, a non-invasive test for lung cancer, can find that early stage and then when it's a curative stage. But before we start, I want to go back to the fact that this is something that touches us all. My father died of lung cancer when he was 39 years old. He came back from World War II. He was in that generation of smoke 'em if you got 'em, and indeed he smoked a lot of Lucky Strikes. He survived World War II, but unfortunately he got lung cancer. And that time, and even now, it was caught at a very late stage when there really wasn't anything available. That's not true now. There are some just miraculous therapies for lung cancer. It can be cured, as I said, if it's caught at early stage. And indeed, our tests can do that. So I'm with you. I think that this is a topic that really touches us all. So I'm very happy today to be with you and talk about lung cancer, talk about our test that's called CyPath Lung, talk about the company, bioAffinity, what it's doing, of course, not only in lung cancer, but in other diagnostics, non-invasive diagnostics for lung health, and talk about our future, which I think is very bright.
No, I do think you guys have a very bright future as well. I know you guys started back in like 2015, 2014, sorry, 2014, and you guys started out in San Antonio, Texas. And I think the first question come to mind is, you guys already have it in clinics. Am I correct?
Yes, we have a laboratory, precision pathology laboratory, which offers CyPath Lung as well as other tests, but primarily our focus is CyPath Lung. It's a reimbursed test and starting to get just great adoption. We really brought CyPath Lung out to the market a couple of years ago, but it was only this last year that we had reimbursement, and we've seen some just very exciting traction.
Okay. So what makes it different from all the other tests out there?
So this is do you mind if I do a little Vanna White and show you a kit?
Yeah, go ahead. Go ahead. Go ahead.
So this is a test that uses flow cytometry. So I'll get into the science in just a little bit, but let me first get into what it means for the patient and for the doctor. So this is a test that individuals do, and they collect their sample at home. They don't collect blood. We actually use sputum. We use the phlegm that comes from your lungs. And it's primarily for individuals who are at high risk. And by that, I mean the definition of high risk for lung cancer are those who are 50 to 80 years old and who have smoked the equivalent of 20 pack years, one pack a day for 20 years, and haven't quit in the last 15 years. Although now I think physicians are saying if you've smoked at all, especially that 20 pack year amount that you should be every year going and getting screened. Just like we get screened for breast cancer or for other cancers, people who are at high risk should be screened for lung cancer. If there is a nodule, and most people have a pulmonary nodule, we used to call it a spot on the lung, then the question is, what do you do next? Do you wait and see if it grows? If it's big enough, physicians will have a much more invasive and sometimes risky procedure, but nonetheless, more invasive procedure to see if there is cancer there. But there are a large number of people where they're told, let's just wait. And the physician isn't comfortable, often the people aren't comfortable, and that's where our test comes in. So they get a simple kit. You can see it's a 5x5 inch kit, and inside the kit is a simple collection, and at home, with the help of a patient coach, someone who we provide for every single patient, they collect their sample, their sputum sample at home. And then on the third day, in the kit that I just showed you, there is a simple FedEx return label. They put the kit back, they put the sample back into the kit, and they send it overnight to our lab. Our lab then processes that sample and provides an answer. And it's a yes/no answer. It says likely malignant in the lung or unlikely malignant in the lung. And the reason that I use that term of malignancy in the lung versus lung cancer itself is that our test actually can find metastatic cancer, can find other kinds of cancers. And in a minute, I'll explain as well why that's so. So it is not only lung cancer that we can detect in the lung, it can also be other cancers, which we have done, that have metastasized, have moved into the lung. So for a physician and for the patient, it provides much more certainty with next steps. And it's non-invasive, reimbursed, and we think a real game changer for getting people both into screening and getting people to either early detection and where they can get treatment much quicker, or they can rest assured when they have a nodule in the lung, they take the test and it comes back unlikely, that they can wait. And there is protocol now for those nodules, for those lung, for the spot on the lung, as I called it. There's protocols that can determine how many times then you go back, and it's really a watchful waiting of all those nodules, but you do it with much more certainty that you're okay.
So I really like it. I like the early detection because I feel like when my mom got cancer, I mean, I'm grateful it was like state. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Yeah. When my mom got cancer, it was like stage 2. It was like early at that time, but the damage that done to her body was crazy. So if there's something even earlier, so my question would be, how early is the early detection? When can you really catch it?
We have up on our site, we have numerous case studies doctors have given us. And there are 4 case studies where we've detected lung cancer at stage 1A, where it was curative. And if you think about it, cancer in the lung, you can take that out if it has not metastasized, if it hasn't moved, if it's localized. So we're very, very excited that we found it at early stage. In fact, there are doctors who now, there was one situation, I should say, and one doctor where the individual had a positive CyPath lung, and because the person had other comorbidities, had other difficulties, the radiologist and the oncologist said, we're going to treat without going in with biopsy. And indeed, it was cancer, but they had caught it early enough and she's doing fine. So there's a lot of potential for how doctors use this tool, use this CyPath lung in determining what to do going forward. But to answer your question, we catch it as early as stage 1A, which is the earliest stage.
That's amazing. So how does it like? Is it? I know I read that it's a serum. Is it like how does the serum
So,
work exactly? I
yeah,
know it's with through
so it's not.
saliva in the cup.
Yeah, so it's what's called sputum. So think of phlegm. So if for those athletes out there, if you think about my brother was a baseball player, so I always think of him on the mound, sort of hawking up that loogie, as you call it. That sputum is what we're looking for, and the reason is sputum bathes the lungs. This is a fluid that is surrounding and in your lungs, and that you cough up. Particularly people who are smokers or former smokers, they'll cough up in the morning to clear their lungs. That's what we're looking for. The beauty of sputum is that because it bathes the lungs, it has and cancer sheds. It picks up in the sputum cancer cells and other cell types, cancer-related cell types like tumor-related macrophages and other things that are indicative, other cell types that are indicative of cancer. Now, what happens is that at home, an individual, often in the morning after a shower, will use a small device called an acapella that we give them. The acapella is a totally benign assist device that helps to open up you blow into it, and it's actually used for therapy to help clear the lungs, and it opens up the lungs a little bit with negative pressure, and it flutters. And so the cilia, the little hairs, I call them, in the lung, start to move, and it gets the sputum out of the lungs. That's why it's a therapy. It helps to clear the lungs if you have a cold or another lung disease. Anyway, people will use that in the morning. They collect over 3 days, and then they send that sputum sample, that phlegm, to the lab. At the lab, we do something called, we disassociate. In other words, we take that mucus and we make it into a single cell suspension. There's a beautiful animated video on our website that I urge, if people are interested in how it works, to go and look at that. But basically, we're making this sample that is mucousy into a single cell suspension. And then we take the sample and we label it, we incubate it, and we we attach different antibodies, different probes, and it's done with blood cancers. It's done with other types of samples, but for us, we use sputum. And what these probes, what these labels do, is they attach specifically to different cell types. So I mentioned we have cancer cells. We have a porphyrin molecule, a certain label that attaches to cancer and cancer-related cells. We have another label that tells you whether the cell is live or dead. We have another label that has several labels that attach to different types of immune cells. And what we found when we did our clinical trial is that there are 3 different cell populations. We aren't looking so much at single cells. We're looking at whole cell populations. And there are 3 that, if they're upregulated, if they are there, and we use a AI-built machine-learned algorithm. If they are there and the algorithm then comes into play, we can determine if somebody has cancer or someone does not. That's what that algorithm tells us. So we take the 3 cell populations. We also take into consider age. The algorithm goes to work, and it comes out with an answer that says likely malignant, likely not malignant. It also provides the physicians with a probability score as well for their own ability to determine what to do next. I hope I hope that explains how
It
we're
does.
different.
It
Yeah.
does. It definitely explains how you're different. And I do want to ask you, I know in the beginning of the show you kind of mentioned that you guys are really kind of starting to ramp up now and you guys
Yeah.
started getting in more doctors' hands. So since I know the year is almost over, how has this year looked like for you guys on getting this out there to doctors? And
Yeah.
the
I think
doctors you're going after is Palma, I don't know.
pulmonologists,
Yes,
largely
pulmonologists.
pulmonologists.
Yeah,
Yeah.
mostly
But
pulmonologists, correct.
well, we began with pulmonologists are sort of the key opinion leaders in this space. And so we began and made a very conscious decision that we were going to do a test market of our own backyard. Our own backyard is Texas. It's a big backyard. And we did very well in
Huge
Texas.
backyard.
Yeah, it is. It's a big, but we made the decision that this year we're going to expand a bit, which we have. We have the VA now. We're on the federal supply schedule so that we're starting to get into the military and the VA market as well. But the way we started was to say, let's walk before we run, before we get out to a bigger market. We're doing two things here. This is a new market for our doctors in the sense that most often if they have a pulmonary nodule, they either say, just let's wait, or they say, let's go to biopsy. And often that's not the right choice either way. So we're getting into and we're building a new market, which has gone very well. There's very much a need, and physicians have reacted very well to that. And we're also bringing on a new test. I think this year has been a very good year. We've doubled what we did the year before. I think we'll more than do that next year.
I see that you guys did really
Yeah,
well this year. You guys increased revenue this
we
year as
did.
well. That's
We
very
increased revenue. We increased the amount payers are the paying, the reimbursement. I'm
yep.
not saying it correctly,
Yeah,
but
the what their reimbursement looks like. Yeah.
yeah. So I think those, and we've also gotten quite a number of physicians who are now providing testimonials and case studies.
Yeah.
The couple of case studies that I had talked about were very important. We have a new chief medical officer, which is an interesting story, if you'll allow me. Dr.
Yeah,
Downey,
no, go ahead.
yeah, Dr. Gordon Downey is our chief medical officer. We met him last year at a meeting of physicians where he was presenting, and he actually was talking about another test, a competitive test. And so we went up to him and we said, you're open to looking at new tests. Would you look at CyPath Lung? He said, absolutely. Now he's our chief medical officer. He's done more than 150 tests. And then he retired. He was near retirement. He's been a pulmonologist. He's an MD, PhD. He's been just a phenomenal addition to our team. But what is interesting is that when he looked at our test versus any of the competitors, he clearly found the advantages with CyPath Lung. And if you were to talk to him, he would give you case after case where this has been so helpful for his patients.
So no, I see the advantages and I really like them. I think you guys have a product out there that does bridge a gap that keeps from going straight to extensive surgery. You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Really found once you kind of find an early stage, there's a decision that needs to be made. It opens more options up. So like I know Texas is like a huge state. I lived in Texas. I played football in Texas.
Yeah.
But how many clinics you have out there, and what is and I think there's a part two that what is the chance you guys are going to start expanding out to other states, or have you guys already?
We've started to move into the southeast and the northeast, sort of the mid-Atlantic region right now, as well as the south. And that's been just in the last couple of months. We've had tremendous response there with pulmonology groups. And the other thing that we're seeing a great interest in are the family practices and the internists. And that is because These are physicians who are the first often to see a patient who's older or a patient who's smoking and to order that low dose CT. And that's really, so the screening recommendations are to get a low dose CAT scan, low dose CT, and those are most often ordered by your family practitioners or your whoever is your general practitioner. When there's a nodule that comes up, we find the physicians aren't quite sure what to do, and those internists, those family practitioners now are starting to look at, we should do CyPath next for a couple of reasons. One is they do want to keep their patients, so they don't want to immediately give them to a pulmonologist or to another practice. But two is, even if they come back and it comes back as positive, or they move the patient along to a more specialized physician, they have the CyPath Lung answer. So that the doctor who receives the patient can more quickly say, oh, you know what, we can't fit you in for 3 months. Oh, but look, it looks like you have a malignancy. We're going to put you in next week, right? So that is that risk stratification, that triaging of patients. This is where we're seeing more and more uptake and use of CyPath Lung, as well as the pulmonologist who has someone who is COPD or someone with asthma or someone who is already seeing their pulmonologist and says, you have a nodule, we want to use CyPath Lung. So we're growing not only in the areas of the country that we're going into, we're growing not only in the use of this test, but also within the practices and the different physicians who are seeing the benefit of this. I want to add one more thing. There was another very, very important market for us is the federal government, are the VAs. They have a higher.
I was gonna get into that.
Right.
No, finish what you're saying. I was gonna get into that.
Oh, I was going to say, so there are two physicians, one VA physician, Dr. Sheila Habib, and another both pulmonologists, Dr. Michael Morris. Dr. Morris is with the Brooke Army Medical Hospital here in San Antonio. San Antonio, by the way, is Military City, USA. So this is a very, very important population for us. Dr. Habib and Dr. Morris authored a study where they looked at an economic study, evaluation, a model, whereby they looked at if CyPath Lung had been used in 2022 with the individuals who got low-dose CT and who had what is called indeterminate nodules. In other words, nodules that are serious enough to say we should keep looking, but not so serious as saying you need to immediately go to biopsy. The conclusion of this study, had CyPath Lung been applied at that time, was that for Medicare patients, there would have been a savings of more than $2,700 per patient. And for patients who have private insurance, that savings would have been $6,500 per patient. So you're looking at a technology at a test that not only can find early stage cancer and not only can do so in a non-invasive manner, but also can really mean a tremendous amount to our healthcare system. And in that regard, we are starting a trial very early next year, if not opening the first site in December, but certainly early next year. The government shutdown sort of slowed a couple things.
Slowed everybody down.
Exactly, with our clinical trial. But we're looking at a trial where we'll have 14 VAs and 2 of our Army sites doing a 2,000 patient trial, because it's important to, and the military sees it as important to their healthcare. The VA sees it as important to their healthcare, and their patients. So we're very excited about that.
if that those trials work out, is there like a government contract in play or a potential government contract? Because if the VA and the military sees value in it, which I'm starting to see that they see value in it after this trial, what does that look like for you guys? What result are you expecting as the CEO?
We're looking to have the test as a standard of care in the VA and the military. And we, our national PI, our national principal investigator for this study is Dr. Morris, who was the author of the economic paper, the peer-reviewed economic paper I was quoting from. So I think that there's some significant interest in that, and we'll have more news on it as we go forward.
So, we're getting close to the end. I do have a few questions that,
Please.
so how does the sales force and distribution model working for you, like as a 2025? How is that? I know you mentioned strong growth. How are you guys going to be trying to push to get next year to get what, 5, 7 more states and grow from there?
I think certainly more states and more adoption, not only more states, more adoption, but also a broader uh, uh, a broader distribution among medical practices. And as I mentioned, we really looked at the key opinion leaders, which were the pulmonologists, to go in first, because that's where you have people who are going to say yes or no to their colleagues. But now we're opening this more up to the internists and the general practices and the family practitioners. So there's growth along a number of levels for us, and growth in getting a higher reimbursement. We have reimbursement with Medicare. We have reimbursement with private payers. Anyone who's in the reimbursement arena will know that you have contracts. We have quite a number of contracts with our private payers, and we're looking to increase the reimbursement for CyPath Lung. We have those contracts are not only pertaining to CyPath Lung, but they're also to our other histology tests that we run at Precision Pathology. So there's a number of ways. We recently announced the cutting of costs, the unit cost, by some cost cutting and efficiency measures. I think you'll see more of that. I know that you will, or at least we will internally, so that the difference in unit cost versus reimbursement, there's a larger margin for our test. So on all levels, we're looking at how to increase the value of bioAffinity and the value of CyPath Lung. We have just a minute more, so I want, if I may just do this. This is a platform technology. So one of the important next year focus that we have is in expanding the use of this platform, this flow cytometry platform, where we're looking at different cell populations in order to really illuminate what the lung environment is, that microenvironment. We're going to look at COPD and asthma and inflammation, and those are huge. We're looking at the ability of a test not only to determine COPD, asthma, diagnose inflammation, but to also determine what types of therapies work best with different people. So as a companion diagnostic, I think this could be huge.
No, I do think if you guys are definitely being innovative and getting other tests and branching out and creating like the spider web effect to where you can make your business sticky, make your business have a wider moat. I do want to get into a few questions real quick before we get off. How's the test volume between 2024 and 2025? What is the percentage of increase have you guys seen?
More than 100%.
Wow, that's amazing.
So we've done very well, and our revenues have gone up. Reimbursement has gotten better. So
your trajectory has gone up. What about big healthcare systems?
So we have several healthcare systems that are involved with us. They are not the whole UT system, but they are a smaller system. If you mean big healthcare, we don't have Cleveland Clinic, for example, where I go, but we're working on those big systems. But we do have the biggest healthcare system of all, which is the federal government, which is the VA and the military. And we are in that system. We were, I tell you, we got approval in about 6 months. And when we first started the approval process, they said it could take 1.5 years. We had the same experience when we went for reimbursement. We were told it could take 1 year, 1.5 years. It took 7 months for us from the time we submitted an application to get a Medicare reimbursement code. So people see the importance of this. We just are putting our head down and doing our work to get it out there.
That's amazing. And what do you like? Last question. What do you want investors to look out for in the first or second quarter of 2026? What should they be looking out for that's going to say, hey, you guys need to invest? This is what we're going to be doing the first 2 quarters of the year.
I think it's going to be important for this trial that we're doing with the military and the VA, and we also have academic sites that are involved in it. I think that will be a good thing to look out for. I think increased growth with CyPath Lung will be important, and also moving forward with our proof of concept or smaller studies that will report on for COPD and asthma and so forth. And we're always looking for those strategic partners, I think, that are seeing the value and the value for their product offerings. And so all of those things are something to watch out for.
Guys, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for showing up. Maria, I really appreciate you coming on the show. I do want to do a quick recap of everything we went, just for the investors that, they listen to the end. This is what I see, guys. This is a non-invasive test, early cancer detection, already commercialized. They already have clinical trials, very large market. This is a multi-billion-dollar market. There's over 14 million people eligible for lung screening tests. There is a great demand for this. Why I like it so much is for the simple fact that it's something easily you can use, something that bridged the gap for a market that kind of doesn't exist, and they're very, very good at it, and the results are very, very great. And they're expanding very quickly, and they already have major people who are backing them as the VA, the government, and they're getting a lot of clinics, and they're moving from state to state. And I really like the trial that's coming up, that 2,000 human trial. I think that's going to really take you guys to the next level, and I'll definitely be looking out for that. And I think everybody who's listening and watching should definitely look out for that as well. Wouldn't you agree, Maria?
I agree. Lots of good things coming. Thank you so much.
There's a lot of good things coming. So, guys, I appreciate you. Take a look. Guys, if you guys watch it on YouTube, you guys watch it on my website, or you guys listening in, pay attention to the bio. I'll have the link of the company, or I'm fully monetized on YouTube, so you can just click the link on the right, and then you'll be able to go right to the website if you guys want to learn more. And they're definitely going to be back on. I really like this company. I'll definitely be keeping up with them to see what's new and what's coming out. Peace.